there's a plausible reason.
Rich, there is that point, because with VADA, it's the voluntary. So it's basically you agree to submit to it. So basically, you'd be a right idiot to do something if you're being tested. Like, for example, Artur Beterbiev is being tested by, there's a whole range of like top Anthony Yard are all in the system, or in their testing system. Well, we all know that like doping is a very, very advanced science, and you have to be really dumb to be caught. Um, Rich, the question I'm going to ask you: how many clever boxers are there?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But if they're not that clever, or they're not clever enough, they'll go out and find somebody who is. I mean, I think if we, you can get really complicated looking at this case, but let's have a look at things simply, Alan. As you know, I like cycling, and I go out and ride my bike, even today when I was freezing to death. But I'm an old man now. I'm 50 now, so I'm an old man. Alan and Israel, you check my Strava every day, and all of a sudden, like, wow, Richard's in top 5 on Strava in Yorkshire. How's he doing that at 50? Wow, he's beating everybody. And then you see a couple of pictures on Instagram, and you think, wow, Richard's got really lean. His body's completely different. His body's completely changed. And then after that, you see that I've palled up with a doctor who specialises in private testosterone replacement therapy. And then you look into this doctor, and this doctor does loads of podcasts talking about everybody at Richard's age in cycling's doping. Everybody's doping. It's easy to beat the testers. It's simple. It's easy. And then Richard goes and enters 2 races somewhere in Italy or Spain or wherever, where they have a bit of occasional testing, and he fails 2 tests. Would anybody, hand on heart, if I come on this show, Alan, and went, Alan, believe me, mate, please, I wouldn't do it. Sorry, I always pronounce your name right. It's wrong, sorry. And I went, please believe me, honestly, I haven't done it. Ignore that my body's completely changed. Ignore that my performances have gone through roof. Ignore that my pal, this doctor, has done his best to make himself sound as dodgy as he can possibly sound. Ignore that we've all come off social media. Ignore all that. Oh, and also ignore 2 failed tests. Ignore that. Honestly, don't you believe me? Who would, hand on heart, sit on this screen now and look at me and go, yeah, I think he's telling the truth? Nobody. Alan, you don't have to lie. Nobody would believe it.
Because like of the 4 of us here, I'm the one who sat literally across the table from Gregory Rodchenkov, and him crying and holding my hands and saying, I was set up, I didn't do anything. And I went back to the agency who commissioned me to do research in an article. I was like, yeah, I spiked the story, I don't like it. I gave him all the materials that I don't like it, even though I've been told by police, I've been told by coaches that he's as dirty as can be, but he was so convincing at that moment. But you know what? It was fool me once, and that was it. And so I would likely say no, Rich. Sorry, I don't know, but
it's just, if something doesn't look right on every level, then how can it be right? And Isel's just made a really good point. There's a really, even forgetting Conor Benn for a second, forget whether he's innocent or guilty for a second. If we look at the overall behaviour around this case, there's an incredibly dangerous precedent being set, which is we do not care whether you are clean or dirty. We don't care. We're going to find a way to make it happen. Don't matter whether you're juiced at girls, we're not interested. We're going to find a way. Which, you know what, if that's what they want to do, that's fine. But then please don't do any interviews on social media crying about when boxers have got hurt or crying when they've died, because you can't do both. You do one or you do the other. And if UKAD don't do anything in this case, or the boxing board or whoever's got jurisdiction, don't pick it up, because ultimately this all comes down to 2 boring words, as Isel said as a lawyer: strict liability. It's in his system, and that's that. If they don't do anything on this, then for me, anti-doping, worldwide you could say, but definitely in Britain, anti-doping is dead in Britain, because you can't have promotional companies saying that promoter, his boxer's dirty, he's been found, he should never box again. I'm talking about sending him to prison. Oh, my kid, no, he's been in here and he's cried, and oh, God, my kid won't do it. It's a complete nonsense. And if nothing happens in this case, whether there's a full listen, even if there's a full and frank investigation by board and UKAD, and they go, do you know what? We don't think he were. Even if that happens, but people feel there has been a proper process. We'll all still suck a lemon, but there's been a process. At the moment, there's been absolutely no process, and we're just being told, well, this is what it is, and accept it. And for that to happen, why would a boxer pay for VADA testing? Why would a boxer, if you had come into your changing room after all before you're going to box and say we want a sample, just say no? What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. Issa, go on. Yeah, I'm going to come to Keane, but Issa, jump in.
I would just say, let's not forget as well, at the start of, now, with COVID, every year blurs into one. So I'm going to say the start of last year, at one stage during the course of last year, obviously prior to these tests, the WBC basically there were 3 boxers, I think, at risk due to the fact that they hadn't signed up to the clean boxing program, and one of the clean boxing program. One of them was Conor Benn, who they were basically saying, you haven't signed up yet, and it was kind of treated like, oh, I've signed up now. So, you know, I don't want to say that that's indicative, but if you're not the first to sign up, now let's also remember by the same token, there are lots of dirty athletes across various sports who are signed up to various testing programs, and Lance never failed a test kind of thing. But it's a very dangerous precedent for the sport. It's worrying.